can.
The best way we could possibly start is by finding some group coherence. So I thought maybe 3 ohms would be in order. And so if you'd just like to close your eyes, I won't om down the microphone, I'll move back, I promise. Close your eyes, find your breath, find wherever it's at the moment. Just let your body settle into the chair. Just check in. And then take 3 deeper breaths in and out through the nose. And on your next inhale, let's begin with the 3 ohms. So breathing in. Om Paramatmane Namah. So this is the next slide. Okay, so we'll come back to this Sanskrit phrase later on, but this means Om, I bow to my highest self. Okay, I'll skip the bit about me because I did an introduction the other day, but needless to say, I have worked with kids and I'm a parent of teens. One of my girls has just gone off to university and it feels like I've lost a limb. But it's this subject, I'm just scratching the surface, and of course it's more relevant now than it has ever been. And I feel it's all hands on deck time with those that feel called and are capable and can help steer our kids. Why bliss? So Dan is always talking about bliss, and this presentation is about how to teach bliss to children, or how to encourage them to feel bliss or maintain their blissful experience, because I believe all children have the capability and naturally feel bliss. But with the exposure to social media and all the other toxic things in our environment, this is being eked out of them. And I find a lot of young people, well, I question whether a lot of young people are able to feel bliss, even in the way that we may have done when we were younger. So why bliss? Well, bliss, as Dan will probably tell you, is that feeling of coherence. And when you have that coherence, you are centripetal and you are connected, and you feel that sense of oneness, that togetherness, and feelings of ESP, wider perception beyond the regular bandwidth, and all kinds of stuff happens in that moment. And bliss is also presence. So today I'm going to talk about the young people, how they are, how we find them now, and then what we need to express their potential. I'll go through some practical tools, but it's not exhaustive. And then I'll share some other insights. And then we'll talk briefly about what if you come across someone where the connection is lost, because I have come across people, and it has been a real conundrum actually of what to do when they're so far down the line and they're not feeling that connection anymore. So I just thought we'd briefly touch on that. And then I'll give you an example of my kids and their early spiritual start. And then if we still have time, we will do an actual practice. I've done it before in this kind of presentation, the shimmering practice. If we have time, I'll do that. And then we've got questions at the end. our young people, they are powerful but vulnerable, and they have their barriers to bliss and sovereign energy. And I don't need to go too much into this because I'm sure you all know, but we have the immunosuppressing food, and their attention is fragmented by tech and it's shortened by tech. There's a priority of stuff over joy, and then they're inactive a lot more than we were as kids. And this division, this sense of division and divisory content, these layers or names or labels on identity, it caps their sense of infinite self. So it's just a way of kind of further trapping them in a box, in a box, in a box, in a box. That's what I feel. And then they get hooked on this dopamine loop, which also is a replacement to natural bliss. And many adults too, but many kids don't breathe correctly. They're reverse breathing or shallow breathing, which is affecting their nervous system and the way their brain functions. And then of course we've got AI. That all equals disconnection. So, okay. That picture should have come up before. Anyway, they've been mishandled, obviously. COVID, the pandemic, homeschooling, that was 70 to 71 weeks of homeschooling in the US. At the time I lived in India with my girls, and it probably was that they were very strict in India. They just didn't send them back to school, even when the kids were going back to school in Europe, actually. It was such a long time. During that time, of course, they were looking at the screens even more. They're staying in their bedrooms, they're laying on their bed, they're having their lessons. A lot of the time the camera was off. Where was the joy in that period of time? The joy was what? In the having of stuff, you know, in comparison to other kids online. I won't go into the next one too much, but needless to say that also was a problem. And they spent a couple of years, as we did, living in that morphic field of fear. Sorry, I'm starting on a dark note. It does get better than this. But, you know, all the time that they were at home, they just had more time to focus on their lack and their identity and all these labels to pile on top of each other that further cap their sense of self. And I found out that this year, 27% of TikTok's global user base is aged between 13 and 17. And so that means 430 million kids and teens are logged onto TikTok.
That's enough to change the hologram.
Yeah, which is short attention span. Very short.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so, I mean, this is all pretty self-explanatory, but, you know, my kids, I think, on the whole, have done quite well, but they have friends that have had eating disorders or suicidal tendency or seem just all-out sociopathic. You know, there is exposure to a lot of harmful content. There's grooming, there's cyberbullying, the blue light and the poor sleep connection, the low self-esteem, the body shaming, all these kinds of things that come from the comparison, let alone the disinformation that's out there, and reduced social skills, less looking people in the eye when they speak. And what I've noticed as well, when I listen to my girls talk, especially when they talk about boys and interaction, that they're learning what love and sex look like from the internet, from porn. And that's quite disturbing too. So there's this new wave of learning how to be in relationships and how to relate to one another, and that seems quite cold. So, I mean, in short, what do they need to express their potential? And so, of course, they need to breathe properly and keep their body coherent. They need to be able to protect their energy and find that sovereignty in their energy. and they need to have the healthy lifestyle behaviors. They need to train their body, they need to train their mind, they need to learn how to sleep properly, and they need to have respect and presence for themselves, for animals, for each other, for the land, and for life itself. And I think a key thing here is learning discernment of understanding how to curate their environment and how to curate their friends, how to detect what is their energy versus what is not their energy, and therefore assert good boundaries. And of course, I think it's really important now to understand what it means to be human in a world bombarded with lots of created artificial information. And, I just added that at the end recently, I really believe that they would benefit from the idea of true exchange, and I'll come back to that later on. So learning is a foundation. If we're looking at young children in particular, I think it should be important for them to understand the nature of energy, resonance, vibration, understanding that their imagination is something that makes them uniquely human, and it is a gateway to a wider consciousness that is more of themselves rather than a capped, divided sense of self. And living with an idea of loving action, whether that be in thought or action out into the world, the way they speak with their parents and each other. These things, I know they seem like no-brainers, but we have to really kind of go back to the basics and just gather this and see how we can get this across with our care and our education with them. I've put here, lessening the differences. Now that's quite funny because I just got really scared out there when a spider landed on my arm, but that's exactly what I mean, like learning to see yourself in all species as a mirror, that same but different scenario, and that includes the things that you're scared of, the spiders, the snakes. So learning that oneness feeling, that other perspective or mirror version of self. Not only does it help with spiders crawling up your arm, but it also helps with the troubles we have in the world, and it also paves the way, our consciousness, for making contact. Because if we can't get our heads around a spider, then we're not going to get our heads around other forms of being that may be from a different dimension or a different place, off planet. This is always, the next one, discovering your true self, this is always being written about in ancient texts and yogi texts. And then I've got channeling divine energy, and what I mean by that is marrying the divine or the non-physical energy of yourself into the physical world, so they are equally infused, and so that you are living your best version of your unique energy and giving it as a gift to the world, but anchoring it into the physical world, which takes some doing. And I've met a lot of empaths and sensitives and light workers, but they're not always able to fully stand in their body and plug themselves into the world and move about in the world, me included, and be effective, fully channeling their energy and holding that space in their body with healthy boundaries without it being leached away, which often happens. And so I thought that was quite important. If you could teach kids that from an early age, then it would save a whole lot of bother with people not believing they're good enough or they're worthy enough to be out and be seen and to be heard. And the last one, managing energy. This is knowing how to pull your energy in and when to push it out, how to be guarding with your energy and how to focus your energy to get things done. So this could mean internal healing. In the practice of yoga, they might call this prana-vidya, or healing out of your body, Reiki. But this could also be in the physical world, like focusing with your intention what you would like to get done, with action and with mind and with heart coherence. So this is my updated list of what I think we should be teaching them. given where we are, and given that we're wrestling with the idea of AI and what this may mean for our future and our children's future, I believe that as humans, we should be learning how to heal ourselves and each other, how to defend ourselves, which is again about boundaries, how to grow food. I've heard some lovely thoughts on that here. How to relate, that same but different principle again, and how to gain experience so they can lose fear. How to resolve conflict, take accountability, and how to integrate their consciousness, which is kind of what I spoke about in the previous slide, and anchor it into their physical world. So you could call that energetic coherence. I've put there astral coherence, but energetic coherence, that balance, that fusion of the physical and the non-physical counterpart being successful in this world. So I've listed some physical exercises and some non-physical exercises. I think we could go on forever with all the things that we could dream up that could help create and cultivate bliss in a young person. So I've just plucked some things that resonate with me out of the air. Gross exercises, generally speaking, are really good for people who find it hard to keep attention or focus attention. So it will be something that's audible or tactile, or something that can be seen or guided, that is tangible enough to follow, to hold and entrain the mind. Subtle exercises, which we'll come to in a little bit, are good for those that can hold and sustain attention. So I've got here breath work, pratyahara, which is a practice of withdrawing the senses, chanting or the use of sacred words, movement, eye contact, but this is, or eye gazing, and here I'd like to give a little nod to our friend Alexa in Bali, who says that eyes are portals and not all children feel ready to look an adult or a stranger in the eye, so respect that. And if it feels right and comfortable, eye gazing or eye contact, at least while speaking to someone, is very helpful. We've spoken about this a lot already in the last 24 hours, but the being out in nature and sensitizing to it, and then being able to understand how to create harmonics or create coherence, not only in yourself but with others, because that creates cohesion, almost instant cohesion, as you would have witnessed with our Om. That was a great way to bring everybody in together. So the list goes on. Last time I did this presentation, I spoke about the orange ritual, where you're essentially going through a mindful practice, and you have an orange in your hand, and you are asked to look at this orange, observe the weight, the size, the touch, the color, the texture, and know that this has been created by the energy of the earth and the energy of the sun. And then you smell the orange, and you take this in, and you enjoy the feelings that it brings. And then you gently peel the orange, observing the kind of micro explosion of the little particles that go up in the air, and you smell the pith, you feel the pith, you peel it slowly, you take a segment slowly, you close your eyes, you put the segment of orange in your mouth, you bite gently, and the bliss of the presence and the mindfulness that ensues from just this very simple exercise is a great thing to do for anyone. I really love doing that exercise. I've gotten here sound again, binaural, and in training the whole brain, left and right hemisphere. And I've put here using story. I can talk about that a bit later, but that was something used in my daughter's school, using ancient tales and stories, sometimes with morals to them, but these are, especially if they're old stories or ancient stories, they carry a resonance with them. And I noticed when I used to attend my daughter's school assemblies that the kids would be riveted by these. They weren't, straightforward, popular, trendy stories. They would be things like tales from the Upanishads or little segments of the Gita or other lesser-known texts. And they might often be gruesome, or they may have a lot of adventure and up and down going on, and a love story and battle and death, etc. But this is a very good way of bringing attention and coherence in and understanding in that state of presence the meanings of life that are wrapped up in the vibrations of the words. So this is why I talk about using ancient story and ancient tale. I've put here eye exercises simply because our kids look at screens so often, and I can show you a slide later with a quick demo of that. And Tratak, Tratika, looking at the flame of a candle, that is a good, it's also a gross and a subtle exercise. It's a good way of feeling that same but different perspective I spoke about, that feeling of oneness with the flame. I've put here also understanding boundaries, also verbally, learning to say no verbally. Now, that was something I found difficult when I was younger, and I think a lot of people find that difficult to actually get the words out. No. Like, no, it's difficult when you're asked to do something that you can do, but you don't really want to do, or you don't have the energy to do, but you do it anyway. And if you get into the cycle of doing that, that's where you're not having good boundaries. And I think that is something very important to teach kids, that it is okay to say no. They like that. So, okay.
Can I just say something? You put calm intent. I think that's really the key.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Because when you
Yeah.
hear somebody, they usually end up saying no aggressively. And if you
Yeah,
can
that's-
teach them to say no with calm intent, which comes from feeling good, I think that's the key part of that.
Yeah, that's really important, and that's a skill. Yeah. Whole brain games. We'll look at that a bit later. Whole brain games. I think that activities that can engage the whole brain encourage also that integration of the two parts of the self. Here's a slide on how not to breathe and what happens to a young person's face, a side profile, when they don't breathe correctly in and out through the nose. So what you should be doing when you breathe in is you should be inhaling and your belly should be going out. You should be exhaling and your belly going in. Lots of people do it wrong. A lot of kids, sadly, do it wrong. And for the short period of time that I worked with kids in kindergarten, teaching them yoga, it was astounding how they had just taken on or mirrored this kind of breathing from their home environments. And it was actually affecting their nervous system and, of course, the way their brain becomes wired and the way they interact with other children, the way they learn, the way they sleep. So a good way to work around that is to, here there's a picture here, bottom right, of the girl with a teddy bear on her belly. I used to put a rubber duck on the kids' bellies and ask them to breathe in and take the rubber duck for a ride on the sea, and the belly would go up and down with the breath. But if you end up being a mouth breather, your palate doesn't develop correctly and your tongue can't sit correctly in its correct place. Your face sort of becomes a little bit collapsed. You develop smaller sinuses and nasal cavities, and that can create mouth breathing for the whole of your life, because if you can't breathe through your nose because you feel there is a blockage, you'll end up always having to breathe through your mouth. So in fact, my daughter, at night time, she used to be a mouth breather, and we managed to correct it by retraining those breathing patterns during the day. And then she wore something called a myo brace at night, which forced, it was like a rubber shield, which forced her tongue to sit in the correct place, so she couldn't open her mouth, and the shape of her face changed gradually. But we nipped that in the bud. But I mean, it's such an important thing to breathe properly.
Was that your daughter on the picture?
No. I've got a few videos in this. Sorry, I know I'm leaning backwards and forwards from the mic. Is that okay? It's not, yeah. Okay. So, here is some examples. Oh, is there sound coming out of this? How do you do that?
No, but maybe we can use the mic.
Okay.
Turn the sound up on the sound all the way up.
This will be
Make
enough.
nice big bubbles. Let's begin.
Some examples
Breathe in.
of how to entrain breathing in
Breathe
kids.
out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Hold up one hand. Using the fingers of this hand as a guide, we're going to trace around these fingers with our other hand in time with your breath. Taking nice steady breaths. Let's begin. Breathe in. Breathe out. 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 Using a square that you have drawn, trace your finger around the square in time with your breath, taking nice steady breaths in. We will breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let's begin. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2,
It's
3,
basic stuff.
4. Breathe out.
It's basic stuff,
2, 3.
but this is what it's come to. And it's about starting again at the beginning. Just a picture here on what yoga does to the young person's body. It creates fractality. Look at the geometry going on here. And we got a little yoga sutra at the bottom. Yoga is the cessation of the chattering monkey mind. And by doing these kind of gross physical postures, you're bringing the left and the right side of the nervous systems to a place of balance, and you're bringing yourself into heart-brain coherence. You're calming the body, and you're preparing yourself for stillness. Here's a boy I found doing Kapalabhati, the shining skull breathing technique, which is energizing to the body. This brings bliss.
हेलो दोस्तों, हम डाले हैं योगा करने। हम आप सबको कपालभाति करके दिखाएंगे।
Except for he's got a phone near him. Oops. Here are two examples of pratyahara practices. Yoga Nidra. You've all probably done Yoga Nidra at the end of a yoga class. Hands up who's done Yoga Nidra, that deep yogic sleep. Yeah, it's amazing. And Shanmukhi Mudra. That's not really Shanmukhi Mudra, but they look like they're doing Brahmari, where you do the humming bee breath, where you put your hands over your ears and you hum. But here I've written Shanmukhi Mudra, which is, and I'd like you all to just try sitting in your seats. Take your hands, put your index finger, well, maybe watch me first, because once you close your eyes, you won't see. Index finger over your eyes, your middle finger partially closing your nostrils, not fully, partially. Your next two lots of fingers closing your mouth, and your thumbs closing your ears. Now, really, really do that, except for just leave a gap for yourself to breathe, a little gap. Now that is withdrawal of the senses. That's a very quick way to bring yourself in. It's even more effective after doing some breath work. But it is also a preparation before you focus and you go on to meditation. But that's an excellent practice, very quick and easy. Oh, there's a lot of words. There are a lot of words on there. Okay, sorry to bombard you with all this text. Why is Pratyahara so good? Apart from what I just said, it quietens the mind, it decompresses the body, so releases the stress and the tension. And it helps to gradually delay reaction time, which is what our young people need, because they are reactive, living in a world of instant gratification and likes and emojis, of which we have no idea the language and the code in the emojis that they use. It improves happiness because you're changing the source to something that's within rather than externally. And it gradually, over time, it's not overnight, reduces the impulsive emotions and gets you out of that fight, flight, reactive mode. And it's allowing you, when you pull your senses in like that, to do something really important. When you feel sad, or things aren't going right, or you feel a little bit off, or you're grieving, or anything that's not pleasant, you are sitting with it. And by sitting with it, you are acknowledging it, you're allowing it to be, you're holding space for it, and then you're allowing it a chance to work its way out naturally without distracting yourself and moving on to the next thing. And I think that's really important for kids if we want to encourage them to find a space where bliss can naturally spark. Mantra, my goodness, it's worked for me in some good times and not so good times. It's amazing. And I've always used a mala. And apart from building resonance with the repetition, with the words, especially if you're using sacred words and the resonance in the vowels and the sounds of the words, you are building focus and you're cleansing your aura, you're calming your body, and often you are brought into theta states. And again, it's a big Tonka toy for the monkey mind. I found this just before I flew out here, and I had to find a place to put this in, because this is instant bliss, instant connection, instant coherence. God. It's just normal for that girl. I know we don't all sing as beautifully as that, but you only need to hear that once and that stays with you because of the resonance. That is ancestral memory, that is family memory to last a lifetime. And singing or playing an instrument, I believe, harmonically with a group of people, embeds that bliss. It's instant fractality, it's instant coherence. So encouraging our young people to do that. I know we did some omming, but the harmonic singing, even if you don't feel you're a good singer, you can be enmeshed in a group, and so your slight off-keyness will kind of be homogenized out. It will become coherent, but it's an instant way to find that connection. And we see it with musicians. We see it when musicians jam, and not just playing jazz and anything. When they jam, they are channeling their fullest energy and they are planting it into the physical world, and that is humanity at its most brilliant. I almost want to cry just thinking about how magic and how instant music is.
Our concert Monday night, we have indigenous and exactly that energy from Kasha.
Great. Eye gazing, I've already spoken about this. If we've got older young people sitting there, but that brings that sense of oneness, that sense of uni-being, that same yet different scenario, teaches that acceptance and that sensitivity and compassion. The eye exercises, I mentioned them earlier to reduce the eye strain with these kids looking at screens. It also is an excellent way. It's like defragging the computer and then recalibrating. So for this is what I used to teach with young people, kids, that first of all, you pretend you're looking, you close your eyes, you pretend you have a clock face in front of you, and then you open your eyes, you're looking at the center of the clock. You may start at 12, and you'd work your way around anti-clockwise first. Then you'd go 9, you'd look down at 6, then 3, 12, 9, 6, 3. And so you'd go around a few times that way, and then you'd finish by going around clockwise, so you would recalibrate yourself. So it's an excellent reset exercise and reduces the strain in the muscles around the eyes. I didn't speak about this last time, and I felt like I wanted to this time. Dolphin brain repatterning. Now this is found in a book called Pleiadian Workbook by Amora Kwan Yin. And it's based on guided floor movements, Feldenkrais method, and it is designed to awaken the ka in the body, and it's mirroring the way that dolphins, or the cetacean species in general, swim. And as you can see, or as you may be aware, that dolphins have, like fish, one sheet of fascia that goes around the whole body. And we have that too. So the same sheet of fascia that goes under our feet, under our pelvis, it goes around our heads. We have that same sheet of fascia. So by mimicking or mirroring dolphin movements, you are releasing fascia, but you are also releasing ancestral memory and trauma. So it's also, on a practical level, bringing skeletal freedom, and this is bliss-inducing because you're releasing. This also requires both hemispheres of the brain to do, because you have to think and concentrate on what you're doing. It takes some doing at first, and then you've got so you've got left brain and right brain activity with this, and it gets that spinal pump going, which is bliss. So I've taken some pictures from the book. So this is an example of dolphin brain repatterning and how you may start to go about it. So you're always doing figure of 8 movements. So you're literally mimicking the way a fish or a dolphin would swim. So you see here in the diagrams, you have this figure here. They're focusing on their left hip, figure of 8 movements, then their right hip, and then the axis is in the center, and they're doing the figure of 8 movements on one plane. This is a little bit more complex. Then they're practicing with the shoulders, the kind of left shoulder leading, then you practice with the right shoulder leading, the left hip and the right shoulder, the left, and the reverse, and then all of it together. This takes some doing, and you really do build up strength with this. and you sweat. It's actually quite physical. And then you have the kind of wave which is happening the front to back plane. And you can do that in your pelvis, and you can do that in your shoulder girdle. Other whole brain games, I've seen this great one recently on Instagram, and I'm still practicing in it. See if you can do this. Who can do that? Hang on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Psycho-calisthenics.
Oh, yes.
I'm not doing it as fast as the girl on sugar. I mean, it's that you can see it's both sides of the brain. Anyway. Dance. Oh, hello. Dance has always been that. I've put Kung Fu because, you know, I only think that Kung Fu belongs in films or with masters. But I've seen recently sort of beginners learning Kung Fu, and I just thought, oh yeah, that's great. So I've put some other martial art things there, and not all combative. I mean, judo isn't so combative, I don't think. I've discovered Silat as well. That's an Indonesian one, and it seems very intelligent because it seems like you're using minimal effort in the body, and it's about pushing someone away by pushing their limbs away, just reacting fast, using legs, knees, and it's not big kicks, it's not karate, it's not katas or anything, so that's interesting.
Aikido is the one like that.
Aikido.
Aikido?
Aikido.
Yeah, Aikido.
But you get Aikido, which is fighting. And you get Aikido, where you're learning to use your mind. So you learn to extend your mind and ground your mind. And it all comes from the mind before the action happens.
I like the sound of that.
I did that when I was a teenager. And
Wow.
You learn to extend your mind first, and then someone pushes you, and you can't be moved because you're grounded. And you send that, put your mind somewhere else, and you fall over easily. And then you get grounded. That's really good for teens.
Yeah.
Qigong as well.
Qigong, yeah, Tai Chi. Yeah.
I used to train MMA, and we used to do this one game. It's a terrific brain game. So you have like a stick, and it's a two-player game. And you drop it or throw it in a direction, you say left or right. And the goal is to catch it as close to the ground as possible.
Wow.
So it's like your right hand, you catch it, and you throw it. And then you say left. You gotta catch it, and then throw it.
And it seems like you're crossing the center line of the body as well.
Yeah, because you can drop in any direction.
Cross scroll.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, amazing.
There's a cross scroll, Infinity Walk. They do the cross scroll therapy for dyslexia, for example.
That's right, and that's how you encourage kids if they're not crawling, because there's that correlation between kids that don't crawl and they can't do the opposites, or they can't cross the center line of the body with dyslexia, dyscalculia, things like that. So it's good to encourage kids or young kids to learn the opposites or cross the center line of the body, which you would be doing in yoga often. I've put here a whole brain game. I mean, art, come on, it's like, it's colour is frequency, and you're also using colour. And music, it's harmonics again, we were speaking about that, and it's maths. Subtle exercises. I've got here also teaching children dream management, how to set lucid intents, how to manage bad dreams, how to manage themselves, how to set intention for a deep and restorative sleep also. Psi games, learning to hover an imaginary coin over the head. That's good for focus and for developing that sensitivity, especially around the crown chakra. Teaching Reiki, teaching body awareness, energy awareness, learning about the aura, its boundaries, and learning where the chakras are and learning what they feel like. And I've put here shimmering. I did this before online, and if we get time, we'll do this today later. I've got grounding cord and golden. If I get time, I'll speak about these. Trataka, that sense of uni-being, becoming one with the flame, and it's great for group coherence and bringing the theta states. Reiki. just a AI image of someone sending their grounding cord down, although technically you wouldn't be sending it down from your throat chakra, you'd be sending it down from your root chakra. This is a good way to cleanse and rejuvenate your energy body and your aura. It takes some time, maybe drawing in of the attention first, some breath work, or maybe a pratyahara exercise, and then focusing on the aura and imagining this golden liquid light showering over the aura and pulling off with it any debris. Imagining the sensation being energizing and the liquid drops coming into the aura and cleansing the space in the aura and on your body too. It's quite effective. The AI image again. Most of what I've been speaking about is actually yoga, and so it's nothing new. And here are the 8 limbs of yoga, and we've pretty much spoken about the observances, niyamas, the postures, the breath, the withdrawing of the senses, the focus, and preparation for that unity consciousness. Hands up, who's seen the telepathy tapes? I imagine most of you.
We learned about them from you.
Oh, okay. Here's a video. So does that mean there's just a few hands of people that have listened to or seen any clips from the telepathy tapes? Yeah, it doesn't seem like a lot of you. Okay. So these are the non-speakers who have learnt, because they have had patient, loving and caring people sitting with them, teaching them how to communicate on a card with numbers and letters. And so they've bridged the gap. They're now able to communicate with their parents or their caregivers. And what they have shared is that they are extremely proficient in the astral realm.
This is mostly autistic kids, for example.
The non-verbals. So what you will often find is that they are, it feels like their energy is partially embodied. So they may often experience a great deal of pain in the physical form, but they have retained a lot of connection outside of that physical form.
They become like astral warriors in a way.
My son said to me, "I can hear thoughts." And I said, "Impossible." And he said to me, "You don't get the kind of gifts that I have if you lie."
Let's please multiply 2 numbers and see if he gets it.
Okay, what is it?
9, 0, 0.
Unbelievable.
1.
Maybe shuffle again, Dr. Powell. Oh.
Plus 2.
So he got the plus, too.
I was wondering, because I was looking at the 2 the whole time, and I saw his hand going somewhere else.
What is this phenomena happening? Why are his mind and my mind completely connected?
I knew that a lot of people would think, boy, Diane's gone off the deep end. But that's the risk any scientist takes when they challenge the current paradigm.
Joining us today to shed some light, Dr. Diane Powell.
I'm working with children who have been reported by a parent to be able to read their mind. The data was so compelling and accurate that I had to follow it, even though I knew I was risking my scientific reputation. I started testing them, and I found that they were exceedingly accurate.
What is the next number?
3.
After the medical board took my license away, I had to prove my sanity. Once I did, I said, I'm going to prove that ESP is real.
Dr. Tarrant, he's done these QEEG scans to see what's going on.
The biggest overall finding is really this increase of activation across all the brain waves. If there was no change, I would definitely be skeptical.
If you can show a consistent pattern, particularly from kid to kid, that's how science changes. You cannot fake this.
We want answers like, where does it come from? I want to know how and what am I supposed to do?
We can't all be crazy.
We are far more powerful than we can imagine, and the implications are huge for humanity and the planet.
I want to add about that, their meeting place of the hill. I don't know how this came about, but it was discovered that many of these young people, even if they hadn't met each other before, they knew each other from the astral place called the hill, which they called the hill. And there would be kids from different locations all over the world, but they all go and meet at the hill. And then by chance, I ran into a YouTube video of a remote viewer who said, oh, he'd watched and listened to these telepathy tapes and said, I thought I'd go and remote view the hill to see what it's like. And as soon as he got there, someone came right over and said, back off, buddy. This is not your place. This is ours. And so he was told very promptly to go away, very, very firmly to leave. But they are in contact with each other, and this is what's so exciting, because there's a lot that we can learn here from the non-speakers. It shows
like a meeting place in the astral where they compare notes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, of course, it shows that communication goes beyond linguistics and words, and that there is another language, a universal language, that is experienced and felt on the whole body, not just from mind to mind. And of course, that's the language of vibration. We've been speaking about that with harmonics, etc. But this shows that we can teach our young people to perceive with the whole body, to feel language in a different way. So, yes?
Are non-speakers necessarily autistic? We can have non-autistic non-speakers.
A non-speaker's what?
Are they autistic necessarily, or can you have a non-speaker that is not autistic?
I don't know, Frederick. I know that you can have children that stop speaking because of trauma, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're
Right, that's why I'm asking.
yeah, with autism. But that should come back, that speech, with trauma release.
They wouldn't be able to meet on the hill.
No, not necessarily, yeah. I mean, it depends how developed your faculties are. You know, the non-physical faculties that we speak of. But, you know, this is something that is there for us humans to develop. Do you want me to help you with the It's okay, because I have to keep turning it backwards and forwards, so it needs to be a little bit loose. Yeah. And I think this is really important at this time with AI. You know, these are the things that make us human. We may have not given it much credence, and it may have been quashed or suppressed or invalidated, but these are the things that we should harness and embrace moving forwards, because these are the things that bring coherence, unity consciousness, peace, happiness, success. I decided to do a few slides on this. I realised that this is such an important thing for young people. The currency of energy, the concept of giving and receiving value outside of our existing monetary system, because that is freeing and sovereignty giving to our young people. So, again, this may seem basic, but I think it is wise to encourage our young people to share their unique gifts, even if it's not obvious what the gift is, just sharing their light, just turning up and just saying or being who you are is enough, without saying, you know, I have a gift of, I don't know, being able to paint like Picasso. So not being afraid to be seen and to feel that reward, presenting yourself, giving your gifts to the world, shining your light into the world, and seeing the light that it brings on the other person's face brings a sense of bliss, that feeling of reward, that feeling of fulfillment. Then that creates that feeling of inspiration. Then the feeling of, I'm going to create something different and something new to get this reaction again because I know I'm fulfilling my fellow brother and sister. This constant innovation and leading edge mentality then would, I believe, would take hold because everybody is working and being inspired from the heart. They're channeling their divine energy. They're anchoring it into the physical world. And the reward of knowing that your gift is the answer exactly to someone else's need and that we all fit together so completely perfectly. I really believe that we are all here and we all answer each other's prayers with the things that we can provide. And all we need to do is sense that connection with money and that monetary system out of the way. But we start with the young people, encourage them to shine their light, even before they know they have a gift.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, giving and receiving honestly, that's authentic value in the world. And every person is of value, even if they don't realize it. So unplugging from the clown world, it's not my expression, but I think it's poignant right now. And moving to the real flow of value, the flow of real value, getting off that consumer belt, which of course our young people are on if they're on TikTok, and not feeding that machine, and moving away from the labor theory of value. And the labor theory of value is something like this: I did 7 hours of work, I should get my treat now, and my treat is my salary that you've told me, my hourly rate. Thank you very much. It doesn't mean you've been really useful to someone. Quite often it means you have been useless to others. You're just doing what your boss has told you to do for their profit. And it actually adds nothing to the human race. And it doesn't bring much meaningfulness to the civilization of the society that you're in. And it's not about really being rewarded for how much you work. It should be about being rewarded for the value you're giving. And I think a lot of universities are just, I say that my oldest daughter has just started university, but you know, we speak about this, you know, what does this mean? What are you training in? And does that mean you should get a certain salary just because you've decided to focus on this subject? Is it about real value? Is it going to be meeting your inspiration that you feel that you want to emerge from you? Because what is money really? It's a token. It's a measure of work given. And if no one cares about the effort, then you don't receive any kind of fulfillment back. And also, the token of money, as you know, is manipulated, it's devalued, it's managed. There are 1,000 middlemen taking their profit off of it. You may think this is not relevant to kids and bliss, but actually it frees up so much sovereignty and so much energy. And I feel that our children, we may not be able to phase out of it in our lifetime, but it's coming. And we can lead them. We can lead them and give them the confidence to live and give and receive like this. And it actually is quite important to the experience of bliss. Because being human is about being of service and value to each other. And it's exchanging what you can do for something you need. So we're perfectly living in harmony. And it's about being authentic, and it brings people together, and it's about living in a profound, meaningful way. Oh my gosh, I've done another slide, sorry. I'm still going on the same subject. I mean, I'm taking Bitcoin, because I do think Bitcoin is quite magic. It's obviously outside fiat currency. And it does have true scarcity, and it does have the universe enfolded in it, because it takes time and energy to mine it. And things should take time. They shouldn't be printed like our money is currently. And because it is an honest recording or ledger of trust, all of a sudden you are eliminating the exploitative middlemen, and you reduce that bandwidth for violence, for war, for taking of property, for understanding boundaries. And it's a more authentic system. I'm not saying it's the only system, because I know we were speaking about, Dan, bartering, just bartering without even Bitcoin. But it's encouraging of that innovation, that inspiration, that honest exchange, that honest value. And so I see Bitcoin, or even just the old-fashioned barter system, as an enlightenment tool, because it frees us up. It frees our young people. So now moving on to what happens. This is a real situation. What happens? What do we do? How do we get the young people back that will say to you, I don't ever feel that sense of oneness. I have experienced this, and I've worked with adults. I have worked with adults that say that they channel, or that they've been speaking to ETs all their life, and that have been practicing mystical practices and reciting mantras. Professional people that feel that they are competent with telepathy or channeling or clairvoyance, but they don't feel a sense of bliss. They don't feel that sense of oneness. They just don't. There is no joy. And I have to say that one particular adult I didn't succeed with, because I said, look, I've never worked with someone with this problem before, but I think I know the way I'm going to go about it with you, and it's going to be energetic and it could get intimate. Are you prepared for this? And the person said yes. And so in our second meeting, I said, we're going to project our heart energy to each other, and we will meet halfway. And if you don't like it, please let me know. This person persisted through the 15-minute exercise, and then later wrote an email saying, I had hate feelings for you when you did this. I felt it was a real intrusion, even though the person had expressed consent beforehand. Yeah, let's try it, because I really want to try and feel connection. But upon receiving that, they didn't like it. So, of course, I had to release them to find their own path. But it really made me think, how do we go about this? I find it hard to accept that there is no way back. Of course, that's not the case with our young people. So
Yeah,
we're running. How long have we got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try another 5 minutes or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that right?
Sure.
Is it?
Maybe a few minutes for question and answer. If we have time.
Okay. Well, one possible answer, the only one I can think of really, is to get the person back in the whole body, releasing trauma, looking at the whole body coherence. Yeah, I'll skip through that. Oh, gosh, I didn't even get to my kids. Okay. So much content. So my kids, they went to a really cool school. They were taught to pause at the beginning and end of every lesson. They called it the pause, but it's actually just a short meditation. And at the beginning and end of every lesson, they would say Om Paramatmane Namah, the thing that was up on the first slide, which means on my bow to my highest self. They would be able to tap in and find that presence. And then they were given these two words, one word at the beginning and one word at the end, Atta, and at the end of the lesson, Iti. And between those two sounds, it meant and signaled that now is a sacred space and a sacred time. So they would begin with Om Paramatmane Namah, Atta. And the kids would say, Om Paramatmane Namah, Atta. And then they would sit, they would focus and concentrate, and they would know that their sacred space and time had begun. And at the end of it, they would repeat the same thing, but finish with Iti, the signal that their sacred time had finished. They studied the ancient stories. They did actually learn Sanskrit, which is a vibrational language, and there are others, of course. They were taught to serve each other and be kind to all things. These are nice things. Do I have time to show the videos? Probably not.
Well, just a little. Give us a taste, yeah?
I give you, hang on, my daughter. Hang on, I'll give you the one of my daughters then. This is, you think that they're doing this because it's homework. They weren't. They would come home and they would do this naturally, and this would be very centering and presence building for them.
Hanta Nishreya Sanjantur Aham Vakshamyanuttamam Ahimsa Pashrayam Dharmam Yasadayati Vainara Trindoshan Sarva Bhuteshu Nitaya Purusha Sada Kama Krodhau Cha Samyamya Tathasitim Avabdute Atmo Pamastu Bhuteshu Yovai Bhavati Purusha Yastadanda Chita Krodha Sapreya Sukametate.
Okay, so I won't show you the shimmering exercise, but it is on, it's out there, it's online. Well, I think we can finish up here. Thank you very much. And I'm around. So,
Nice job, Joe.
oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
So is some of this on your website, Gayle Thomas? Or?
Actually, no, but it's on the video. It's on the video that we did before.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You've developed it beautifully.